Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mind2Mind. I'm Tiffani Neilson, and with me today is my co host, Dr. Joseph Perez. Dr. Joe, how are you doing?
Hey, hi, Tiffany. Doing great. How about you, ma'am?
I'm doing excellent. And we welcome everyone to our broadcast. We do this broadcast every second Thursday. And so be sure to attend all of our Mind2Mind broadcasts. And this month, we'll be talking about springing into success. And Dr. Joe, you've had so much success this year already, and it's just beginning. I mean, you're thought leader of the year. What other news and updates do you have to share with us?
Well, with spring season going around, I'm looking forward to speaking in 6 conferences in the next 2 months, three in March, one virtual, one hybrid, one in person, then three more in April, one virtual, and the other two in person. Now, both of the in person ones, and this is the best part about it all. My sweet Diana gets to go with me. Great. Yeah. We start
Hey,
off the month. Yeah. We go to Knoxville. We'll be in the Smoky Mountains the first week of April, and we'll end the month in Honolulu, Hawaii. Yeah, we've never been there, so it'll be a real treat. Kind of like I don't know, maybe even an early anniversary present. I mean,
I've been.
definitely, definitely,
Hawaii
yeah,
is amazing.
it is, and it kind of makes up for not being able to go to Amsterdam because of that other conference being canceled due to COVID situation and stuff. But hey, Hawaii is a pretty decent substitute consolation prize for Amsterdam.
I'd like to think so. That's fantastic, Dr.
Yep,
Joe. And
thank
so,
you.
when it comes to setting goals, did you set goals to be a speaker at so many conferences, or how did that come to be? I know I caught you
Well,
by surprise, but
yeah, I've always enjoyed public speaking. I've always enjoyed sharing information. As many of my followers on LinkedIn already know, I was an educator before I got into IT. And in that career, the thing that I wanted to do is share. I wanted to see the lights come on in the eyes of the people that I would teach, knowing that my students would get it, knowing that somehow something that I said would make their life better, result in them knowing something they didn't know before, being able to do something they couldn't do before, being encouraged, being enriched, empowered, enhanced, enthralled, educated, entertained, all those fancy E words here for effective communication. And that kind of has spilled out into my professional life as an information technology professional, being in a university setting where I got to speak at a number of events that were put on over the years, and um, it really kind of came together when I started getting invitations to speak at events outside of my workplace, and um, you know, uh, interest started mounting, and really, I didn't really have as a goal to be speaking at dozens of conferences every year. It just kind of fell into my lap. It's just amazing. I'm no Tiffany Nielsen by any stretch of the well. I'm not even a blonde, but yeah, I'm no okay. I'm no Tom Selleck. I'm no whatever famous name that you want to substitute. I just have a passion for sharing information. I hope to say that I've got topics that are relevant, and it's just something that I love doing.
it was never a long-term goal for you. I would imagine that you were
Well,
a smaller Joe, and
yeah.
that you had aspirations of one day speaking. No?
Oh yeah, I did. There was just not really a concrete. Well, this year I intend to speak at 20 conferences. This year I intend to speak at 30 or 40 or whatever. It was just really more of a goal, more of an intention. I know we'll be talking about that a little bit later, but my whole idea was to get the message out to whenever I'm in front of a crowd to give it my best shot. Whenever somebody wants to make the time or spend the time to allow me into their presence, to allow me to have the stage, as it were, whether it's a virtual stage or a real stage, I want the person on the other end of that screen or the other end of that room, the other end of that stage, whatever the case may be. I really want them to feel like they're the most important person, not me. I want them to feel that it's worth their time to walk into this room and listen to me talk. I want them to feel that they are going to get something out of it. And if anything, my goal in that respect is when I'm done speaking that they have been enhanced, enriched, enthralled, educated, all those E words I said earlier. So I suppose, yeah, that would be my goal is whenever I do speak, to give it my very best shot, to ensure that it is going to be a positive experience, and to accomplish whatever the goals are of the event. And so people do feel like they're better off after I'm through talking than they were when they walked into the room. I mean, really, I wouldn't give a plug nickel for a speaker that didn't have that as their main goal, as their driving passion, as it were. So yeah, in that sense, you might call that more of a long range thing, more of an aim than a specific goal.
I love it, Dr. Joe. And that's why we're here today because the world needs more Dr. Joe. And
I don't know about
so
that, but thank you.
when we talk about goal setting, there are several different ways to go about it. And the more specific you are, the better your results will be. And so, looking at short term goals versus long term goals, where would you start, Dr. Joe, with a short term goal or with a long term goal, and then making short term goals to work towards the long term goal?
Yeah. That's an excellent way of putting it. In my experience, I've seen people getting frustrated when they feel as though they're never getting anything accomplished. Okay. Um, I suppose sometimes it can be attributed to laziness. When people don't set goals at all, or they might set them and they don't make the time or expend the effort to try to meet them. They're just lazy. Okay. Other times it's due to people setting either vague or unrealistic goals. Then instead of disappointed, they might get frustrated. They're saying, I can't possibly meet this. They probably meant well, but they were just too hazy with their expectations. All right. And lastly, I think there's a third group of people. These people think that they can't stop for anything. They might have decent goals, they might have good ones, but they're probably a bit unrealistic as well. Now, unlike the first two groups, folks like this, they're going to run themselves into the ground trying to keep up with everything and missing everything. But in certain cases they might accomplish a great deal. Sooner or later, they are going to simply burn out. I mean, to me, that is totally unsustainable, and I can just call that crazy. So, yeah, that's how not to do it, right? You notice that the three routes, you notice that they rhyme, right? Of being lazy, hazy, or crazy. Okay. But instead of being lazy, crazy, or hazy, all right, a huge determinant, in my opinion, to either frustration on the one extreme or disappointment on the other is to try to achieve a balance by setting both long-term and short-term goals. Now, it's important to have a good overall big picture mentality, right? One that can paint with broad strokes and look at long-term strategy. Now, that mindset helps you formulate not long-term goals. That is, ones in which you focus on your destination. Say where you want to be by the end of this year, for example. Okay, that's strategic. All right. At the same time, however, that long view needs to be tempered and informed by a way of thinking that's going to focus on the day-to-day steps that you need to take in order to get there. Okay, the daily execution of the long-term plan. Okay, see, that's the tactical, that's the mindset that keeps tabs on your incremental progress as you go along. So strategic, right, that's where you want to end up, or long term, the destination. And tactical, that's how are you going to get there. That is the short term, the journey itself. So long term goals need to be informed by short term goals, and short term goals should reinforce the overall direction of the long term goals. Now, Tiffani, I firmly believe Our problem comes when we focus too much on the one to the neglect or the exclusion of the other. Doesn't matter which way you go with it. Okay, when either we've got our head in the clouds with the strategic, or when we're stuck in the weeds with the tactical. Either way, it doesn't work. We really need both of those, both the strategic and the tactical. We need to strike that happy medium of balance and harmony with both long term and short term goals, just like you said.
The Goldilocks zone of goals. I love it.
Yes, excellent. That's a great way to put it.
And so I think a big factor when it comes to setting and achieving goals is intention. And so there are so
Yep.
many different ways to view intention. And when you're setting a goal, where your mind's at, where your heart's at, where your intention is as to what you're wanting to produce is going to be really critical. And it's not just intention,
Hmm.
it's attention. It's how many things are you focused on and how much attention are you giving the goal that you're trying to meet? Because if your goal is to win the lottery, but you never buy a ticket, you have to take action because those three elements are the key. It's not just intention, it's intention, attention, and action, in my opinion. Do you feel that intention is a key element, or how do you feel about intention, Dr.
Yeah,
Joe?
absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly, Tiffany. See, I believe intentions form the underlying foundation, um, the foundations on which good, meaningful goals are based. Well, at least where they should be based. All right. Now, I see intentions as guiding principles that express your desire for a given outcome, okay, a condition or a response. Goals, on the other hand, are the articulation of the actions you're going to take to ensure that your intentions are met. Okay, for example, let's say my intention is to be healthy and fit. Okay, when I set goals, both the long term strategic ones and the short term tactical ones that we already talked about, you know, I need to be able to keep that overall intention in my mind, in my thinking, so that my goals will be in harmony with my intention. All right. So what does that look like? Well, number one, I'm going to try to walk 2 miles every day, for instance. Number two, I'll try to do 30 minutes of exercise, something like that. Number three, I'm not going to eat any more than 2 cookies or drink any more than whatever, XYZ. Okay. Those goals that I just listed are definitely in line with my intention. That is the intent to be healthy and fit, right? To be honest, um, I think the intention should come first. Like you said, examine what you're trying to accomplish, where you want to go, who do you want to be, to what extent are you willing to commit yourself to getting there? That's the attention and the action, like you said. Then filter the specific ideas of those goals through that grid using your own personal beliefs and value system. And part of that intention is recognizing that your goals need to be SMART goals, right? I know you know that acronym. You've used it. I've used it. I imagine our audience is familiar with it as well. Goals that are SMART are, let's see, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely, right? That spells the word SMART, SMART. In other
Yes.
words, they're not vague, they're specific. You can tell when you've met them, they're measurable. You can indeed meet them without killing yourself, achievable. They're in line with your intentions. They mean something to you, they're relevant, and they're not going to take you forever to get there. That's timely, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, whew, relevant, and timely. Okay, so I'm sure you see it the same way, don't you?
Absolutely. And I love your example with the diet. And another way to view that is that if your intention is to lose weight and you've created actionable goals that you're gonna limit yourself to 2 cookies and you're going to
Right,
walk takes the actual action of doing those things, and your attention cannot be focused on a cheeseburger. You actually have to put your
right.
attention in and focus into what you want to achieve, because that comes back to the law of attraction at the end of the day. And so I think that
Absolutely.
having smart goals, it makes a lot of sense. And so, looking at the short and long term goals, how do you measure the progress? I know measurement is a key element of this SMART goals idea, but how would you go about measuring the success of your goals? And do you give yourself a pat on the back when you have made progress? How do you feel about that, Dr. Joe?
Yeah, I love that, Tiffany. Um, I'm sure that you've heard the old adage in both construction and in carpentry. It says measure twice, cut once, right? Well, I think it applies wholeheartedly in the context of progress towards a goal, towards an achievement that you want to take. See, the first thing I do when setting goals is to break each goal down into its constituent parts. Now, if it's a goal that has some sort of time limit attached to it, I'm going to analyze how much time each individual step is going to take, stack all that up together, and measure it against the overall timeline of the entire goal. Now, if the sum of the parts are greater than the whole, well, guess what? There's no way I'm going to meet that goal, at least not on time, the time that I've set for myself. Okay, so at that point, I'm going to have to reevaluate. I'm either going to have to allow more time for the goal, or else I'm going to have to split that goal up into smaller goals. Okay. If I do that, then I'm going to avoid frustration and disappointment, both of those, like we talked about earlier. Okay. After that, I'm going to look at multiple measures. Okay. Things like, well, how far have I come since I've started? Okay. That's one measure. Then I measure the distance remaining to the goal, how far I have left to go. Okay, this lets me see that the goal is indeed within reach. It is achievable, the A in SMART, right? Especially if I wait until I'm a little bit more than halfway there. Okay, so I got more already done behind me than what I've got left to do in front of me. That's always more encouraging. And then I have multiple checkpoints depending upon whether it's, say, I don't know, a daily goal, a weekly goal. And at that point, I'm going to take inventory of where I'm at. I do this at work. Then I would suggest remeasuring often. Okay, whether you do it using some kind of an app or a journal or using check boxes or your task manager in your Outlook calendar or something, or some combination thereof. See,
Whiteboard,
recording
whatever it
progress.
is.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You can actually um, have some sort of visual reference to go by. Okay. Now, sometimes to share these goals you can share goals with a trusted friend, a family member, a significant other, and asking them to hold you accountable for it if it's something that means that much to you, right? And believe me, whenever I do that, it doubles the motivation for me. How about you, Tiffany?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I had all kinds of ideas running through my head there of what kind of goals those are. I wasn't sure if those were housework kind of goals or what those were,
right.
Dr. Joe. But I did.
Right, because it depends, right, it depends. You talking about
Realistic.
stuff you're doing exactly. Are you doing stuff around the house? Is it yard work? Is it something you're doing for someone else? Is it related to the tasks that have been assigned to you from your manager at work? You're gonna view each of those different types of goals in a different way, and you may, but the overarching mindset has gotta be there, one of establishing boundaries and measuring how far you've come and how far you've got left to go.
And I think that's so important because I know myself, I'm pretty hard on myself. So if I set a goal
Me too.
and I set a time and I don't meet it, I'm pretty hard on myself. But when you're realistic and you see that things maybe aren't going to fall in the timeline that you had in mind, you have to be willing to adjust and
Yes,
work with whatever works for you and give yourself rewards when you do meet those goals or when you move the needle forward. Recognize the effort that you've done and give yourself kudos because you have made progress towards your goals. So I think that's super, super important, Dr. Joe.
I agree
And
100%.
I had some other tips for success that I wanted to share as well. And it comes with the verbiage that we say every day. And I know these small changes have changed my life so much. And the first one is removing can from the vocabulary and changing it with will. Because when you have the word will in your sentences, it changes a goal from
Mhm.
being I can walk a mile every day to I will walk a mile every day. And that changes your mindset. It changes everything because now
Yes.
you're being committed. You're making definitive statements to yourself and to others rather than saying, oh, well, I can mow the grass. No, I will mow the grass. And then you know that you're going to do it because you're taking ownership of it. What do you think,
Right.
Dr. Joe?
Absolutely. Taking ownership is extremely important. You've when you take ownership, you have a stake in it. When you take ownership, you hold yourself accountable. You know, I am my own worst critic. You talked about being hard on yourself. Yeah, I can be hard on myself too. And once I take ownership of something, once something it means that much to me, I'm definitely going to commit myself. And this thing about moving the needle, I couldn't agree with you more. Even if you don't meet the overall goal completely, I still see a huge motivational encouragement in celebrating, even with what might seem like small accomplishments, right? You're still making some sort of progress. The kudos that you were talking about, you've moved the needle, even if it is a little bit, to tack onto the metaphor you were using there. It's important to see this the right way and recognizing it in a positive light. Okay. With that in mind, in a 2019 study conducted by the Young Entrepreneur Council, hundreds of young entrepreneurs, of course, no pun intended. I mean, that's why they're Young Entrepreneur Council. Uh, anyway, hundreds of them. They were surveyed on their views of the benefits of recognizing progress. This moving the needle thing, and some of the most popular answers included things like using a dedicated app, breaking the goal into smaller pieces, monitoring daily progress, just like you said, setting up a reward system, also like you said. This one, though, surprised me a little. Move the goalposts often. The general consensus, though, among the folks, these hundreds that participated in the survey, was to ensure they knew exactly where they stood and what to do to accomplish their objectives more quickly. Now, that's how I see it, and that's how it worked for them.
And so another statement change that you can make to your vocabulary that also has worked wonders for me is not saying, well, I might go, but saying, I am going. Because just being committed to the fact that you're going to say, no, it's not, I might work on my goals today. No, I am going to work on my goals today because it's not just changing, it's changing the way you look at things. Right, Dr. Joe?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Outlook is everything. Mindset is everything. I take mindset and commitment over raw talent and ability any day because, in my opinion, the best ability is availability. I mean, if you tell yourself, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I need to do, this is what I have to do, and you commit yourself to it, and you look at it with that sense of urgency, that sense of ownership, that sense of importance, then yeah, you're definitely going to move that needle, as you say.
And you brought up a great word, need. And my friend
Yes.
Danielle Marcello, she said, you've got to stop using the word need. And I thought she was crazy. But lo and
Hmm.
behold, she was so right on the spot because that slight change of saying, I need something and changing it to, I want something and being able to
Right.
recognize our needs from our wants is such a huge point because suddenly you realize that the only things you really need in life are food, water, shelter, and love. And everything else is a
Right.
want. So if you just change your vocabulary and you start saying, I want, I want a new shirt, not I need a new shirt. I'm sure that everyone has plenty of clothes in their closet, but just being able to
Yeah.
distinguish the difference and know needs from wants, and it will change your life. And so if you need to meet a goal, well, then you need to make a plan for how you're going to meet that goal. If you want to reach a goal, then you can give yourself some leeway and just still,
Yes.
either way, whether it's a need or a want, you still can recognize yourself for the progress along the way. Right, Dr. Joe?
Absolutely. Moving that needle, baby. Moving that needle.
And so I think that about wraps up. Is there any other tip you'd like to share with us, Dr. Joe, for how to be successful? I mean, obviously, you are a shining example of what success is in my eyes, but
Well,
is
that's
there any
very
tip you
kind
want
of you
to
to.
share?
Yeah. So, how we define success is how we view life. Okay. And I suppose there's probably as many definitions of success as there are different ideologies out there in the world. But I suppose some people measure success by counting up some quantity of something, the number of push-ups that they're able to do in a minute, or the number of seconds that they can hold their breath, or the number of games that their favorite team won in a season, or the number of dollars that they're able to add to their bank account, right? Or maybe the number of
The number of
awards that
events you're
they've won.
speaking at.
Or the number of events that you're speaking at. Yeah, exactly. I mean, holy snap! There's more to success than that, than just counting things. But maybe a more basic definition, and a little more accurate one, as far as I'm concerned, depending on what your ideology may be, would be the achieving of whatever goal that you have set for yourself. I mean, that's going to cover the materialistic person just as much as the athlete or the coach or the writer or the actor, the speaker, the financial tycoon, somebody who considers themselves to be a spiritual person or a worldly person or whatever. Now, for me specifically, as a Christian, my highest goal should be to bring glory to God by doing His will, by doing anything that I can to further that. Now, if by doing so I have other secondary goals, say by giving my very best at work, like we talked about, loving and taking care of my wife and kids, helping my fellow man, being a good neighbor, stuff like that. Well, these other things, like the bank account, the number of games won, the other accomplishment, the number of events you speak at, whatever, all of those smaller things become a means to an end. The end is more important than the means, and it's fine as long as they remain secondary to and help facilitate whatever your number one main motivation in life happens to be. Reaching that, in my opinion, is a definition of success.
That's great. I respect that so much. And for me, I think that you could find success in reaching an individual goal, as you mentioned. But to me,
Mhm.
the true meaning of success is something that you can measure every single day. And it's if you can look in the mirror and like the person that you see
There you
and
go.
and smile, because then you'll know that you found success in every single day, in every moment. And when this life is over, that is true success, that you were able to look in the mirror every day and like yourself and like the person and respect the person that you are.
There you go. And while you're at it, respect and love others as well. You got to start here. You got to start with the face that you see in the mirror, right? Before you can even think about what it's going to be with other people. I agree with you 100%, Tiffany.
And you have to love the earth, which is why we're going to talk
Yeah,
about thinking green next month. So join us again in April as we talk about thinking green and different ways that we can all start in our own lives, in our own backyards, in our daily practices, and thinking more green, because our earth, our climate, our existence is in danger right now on so many levels that I don't even think anyone is even realizing, because their patterns haven't changed and the emissions are through the roof. And if we don't take action now, it will be too late. I read several articles this week alone that the earth is in a tipping point. So if we can reduce the energy we're using, that is really the only path forward that I see for saving the earth. But we're going to talk about that more next month. Are you excited about that one, Dr. Joe?
yes, ma'am. I'm all about trying to do the best that we can with the resources that we have, use them wisely, and be good stewards of them. So, absolutely looking forward to that next month.
And you can also catch my next broadcast, which will be on this March 31st, as we talk. It's a Thursday, and we'll be talking about living on the edge. And so it is an edge computing webinar, and we've got an amazing panel of speakers. They're going to talk from real world examples, such as the city of Las Vegas. We have a representative, Michael Lee Sherwood, who will be talking about Las Vegas's smart city initiatives and how edge computing is involved, as well as several other very intelligent and experienced speakers. So be sure to tune in for that. And you can register at iotmktg.com. Any other announcements you want to mention before we wrap things up, Dr. Joe?
Well, if you visit Data Management U, or excuse me, datauniversityu.com, and do a search on thought leadership, you will find a page that has a familiar face on it. It's an honor that I'm very, very excited about, and I almost hesitate to even bring it up. But look it up when you get a chance. You'll see my familiar ugly mug on there, and a lot of giants among whom that I'm privileged and honored to stand.
Well, your actions speak louder than words, Dr. Joe, and you are definitely a thought leader that puts your thoughts into action. So,
Thank
congratulations
you.
and much respect for living and breathing what you preach. So, great job
You're
on that.
very kind. You're very kind. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. I hope that you found
Yep,
some motivating tips and some success strategies from this session. And we look forward to talking to you again next month.
absolutely. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye. Are we good?
Yep, you're good.
I think it was good, Dr. Joe.
Yeah, thank you. We're going to have to do something about the live stream. Maybe have a meeting